What if the most dangerous song in rock history isn't a screaming heavy metal anthem, but a polite, rhythmic dance track?
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste.
Sympathy for the Devil is not just a song, it is a seance. It is 6 minutes of hypnotic percussion that convinced a generation the Rolling Stones weren't just bad boys.
Okay, I thought of having the solo on the fourth one instead of the... Because that's the way, it's the way it sort of is, you know, the last verse is different. Okay. So we'll have it like 3 verses straight through and then the solo.
They were evil. But listen closer. It isn't a song about worshipping Satan. It is a history lesson delivered by a sociopath. For the band, this track was the moment they crossed a line they could never step back from. Today, we're breaking down the 5 facts that reveal the chaos, the tragedy, and the curse behind the Stones' darkest masterpiece. To understand this song, you have to realize that in 1968, the world didn't just feel like it was changing, it felt like it was ending. The year is 1968. Riots in Paris, assassinations in America, the Summer of Love is dead. The Rolling Stones are done holding hands with the Beatles. They are looking for a sound that matches the violence on the television screens. They lock themselves in a studio in London to capture the sound of a revolution. But the first fact explains why this terrifying anthem almost sounded like a campfire sing-along. The most hypnotic groove in rock history wasn't the original plan. It was a last-minute rescue mission. Fact number 1. Sympathy for the Devil started as a slow, acoustic folk ballad that Mick Jagger admits sounded like rubbish. When Mick brought the song to the studio, he was trying to write a Bob Dylan song. He played it on an acoustic guitar. It was a dirge. It was boring. The band tried to play it as a rock song, but it felt clunky. The magic didn't happen until they gave up on rock entirely. A session percussionist started playing a conga beat, a samba rhythm used in religious ceremonies to summon spirits. Suddenly, the song transformed. Charlie Watts played a Latin jazz groove. Keith Richards played a funk bass line. They turned a boring folk song into a jungle ritual. Once you know this, you don't hear a rock song. You hear a ritual dance disguised as a pop record. Songwriters usually take months to refine lyrics. In this case, a national tragedy forced Mick Jagger to rewrite history in real time. Fact number 2. The lyrics were changed mid-recording because Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated while the band was in the studio. In the original draft, Mick sang, "I shouted out, 'Who killed Kennedy?' referring to JFK. But in June 1968, while the tapes were rolling, the news broke. Robert F. Kennedy, JFK's brother, had been shot in Los Angeles. Mick realized his lyric was outdated. More importantly, he realized the killing wasn't an isolated event. It was a pattern. So he went back to the microphone and changed the line to the plural. "I shouted out, 'Who killed the Kennedys?'" What sounds like a clever rhyme was actually a reaction to a murder that happened days before. The most famous backing vocals in rock history weren't sung by professional singers. They were sung by a room full of people who were barely paying attention. Fact number 3. The iconic woo-woo backing vocals were an improvised accident caused by the studio getting too hot. The tension of the song is driven by that relentless backing chant, "Woo-woo!" But the band never wrote that part. The control room was packed with friends and hangers-on. The producer was trying to create a party atmosphere. As Mick got more intense, screaming and yelping, the people in the booth started instinctively responding to him. They chanted, "Woo-woo," just to hype him up. It wasn't on the lyric sheet. It was just a natural reaction to the heat. They recorded it, looped it, and kept it. That's why this moment feels so unstable. Because it wasn't music. It was mass hysteria caught on tape. The Rolling Stones were a 5-piece band, but on their most important track, their founder was reduced to a ghost. Fact number 4, Brian Jones, the man who started the Rolling Stones, is almost entirely inaudible on the track because the band buried him in the mix. By 1968, Brian Jones was disintegrating from drugs and paranoia. He was the multi-instrumentalist genius of the group, But on this track, he was a liability. There is tragic footage of Brian sitting with an acoustic guitar, trying to play along, but his timing is off. He looks lost. In the final mix, you can barely hear him. He is essentially an extra in his own band. This song marks the moment the Stones stopped being Brian Jones's band and became the Mick and Keith Show. Less than a year later, Brian would be dead. History remembers the triumph of the song, but it forgets the tragedy of the man who was erased from it. The song is about the devil, but after one horrific night, the band became convinced the song actually summoned him. Fact number 5. The Rolling Stones stopped playing Sympathy for the Devil live for 6 years because they believed it was cursed. In 1969, the Stones organized the Altamont Free concert. It was a disaster. The Hells Angels were hired as security, and the crowd was violent. The myth says a fan was stabbed to death during this song. That is false. It happened during Under My Thumb. However, Sympathy started the violence. When they played it earlier, fights broke out immediately. Mick had to stop the song, pleading with the crowd. The vibe was so demonic that the band felt the song acted as a beacon for the violence. They were so shaken that they refused to play their biggest hit live for 6 years. The song didn't just capture a moment of rebellion, it became the soundtrack to the death of the 1960s. Sympathy for the Devil is timeless because it is seductive. It makes evil sound sophisticated. It makes chaos sound danceable. It captures the moment when rock and roll stopped being innocent fun and started looking into the void. And that leaves one final question. When the devil introduces himself, why are we so eager to sing along? So where do you stand? Do you think the song captures the evil of history, or did the Stones just get lucky with a samba beat? Let me know in the comments. And for more stories about the music that changed history, hit subscribe. Thanks for watching.